Hi, everybody. My name is Brian Gilmore from EPAM, and I head up our Commerce Go-to-Market team. And we're here at Shoptalk 2025, and I'm joined by my colleague, Jonathan, who is an AI consultant in our retail practice.
Very happy to be here.
Excellent. So today, we're going to talk about two very interesting topics that are probably front of mind for many people here at Shoptalk, and that is the intersection of AI and commerce. We've seen how AI has really taken over the marketplace, and everyone now is talking about shopping agents or using things like conversational commerce to drive transactions. But how much is this disrupting the industry, and what is the impact to retailers? That's what we're going to chat about today with Jonathan. So for our first topic, Jonathan, I thought we'd chat a little bit about how clients and customers are experimenting with AI, right? There's so many different LLMs, so many different approaches they can take. What are you seeing right now with retailers? How are they experimenting?
I think it's kind of funny that you're introducing the topic like this because everybody talks about experimentation. Everybody wants to do what everybody else is doing.
FOMO, right?
A little bit. And I feel like this leaves a ton of real innovation to make kind of its forefront. So, when we talk to a couple of brands, one of the things that I enjoy the most is looking at their business through the lens of AI instead of looking at AI through the lens of their business. Your goal is always to solve business problem. What are some of the experimentation that you can do that is either not interesting or not available to your competition because of your business model, because of the way you interact with your...
You want to do something different to set you apart.
You want to do something that represents who you are as a business. And to me, I think that from that moment, it gives you a lot of fuel to be able to experiment very quickly. And when we talk about experimentation, is get that AI in the hands of a few customer, go push the awkward zone of like leaving the eternal proof of concept, do something small, quick, learn. We see a lot of reluctance of like, well, we want to know what works. I don't think we know what works. I think that we're just at the beginning.
It's interesting you mentioned that. I think one of the things that I see in the market is companies taking their product reviews and just wrapping an AI agent around that so that shoppers can query and say like, well, what did everybody say about this product? Is that a great place for people to start?
I would say it's useful. I think to me, to be able to break that knowledge silo and to be able to learn better about your product, again, I think it's going to be contextualized to how high quality your reviews are, what kind of information you can get out of it, and then who is it going to be useful to? I know we've done some experimentation with review summarization, restarring. Some people that put like 1 star. Is it really a 1 star? When you look at the actual nuance, you're able to uncover some insights that you don't get with that arbitrary system. I think companies like Uber,
everybody's got an opinion, right? But I want to find people that have my interests and my values, and I would weigh their opinions more than someone else's.
Or something that is, I love this product, but.
Right.
And then you get that in those 5-star reviews, and we're also trained, it's 1 or 5 all the time. I think it's very interesting when you look at this at like the whole unstructured to structured data, deriving those kind of insights. I think it's a wonderful use case to get started, to be able to get that size of like, or a sense of the technology. And it's also a data domain that is easy to understand. There's not a whole lot of dependency. You don't have to re-platform your entire company, or you don't have to involve half the company to be able to derive some insights. It becomes useful.
Yeah. It's interesting, on the commerce side of the house, we talk a lot about how you can take a composable approach to commerce. And I heard you use the term composable AI the other day. Tell me a little bit about that and how that factors into experimentation.
So when you look at how a lot of AI systems are being built, and I mean, we'll go back to forecasting, the customer segmentation, recommender system. Often you have to assemble different data domains, different perspectives, different people working. How is your company structured? And to me it goes, we're talking a lot about composable commerce. I think it also reflects on how you can intertwine those different data domains, how you can intertwine those different ways of working into something that's going to combine the strength of each and every point of view. Let's apply this to AI. You need, the same way that you're building loosely coupled, heavily specialized, easily integrable. Integratable.
Okay,
there you go.
That works.
Systems together. Well, you can do this with AI. One of the things that we discuss a lot with our customers is we ask them to think in terms of primitive. What do you want to do? Are you trying to summarize? Are you trying to generate? Are you trying to translate? Are you trying to correct? And then assemble those different primitive into a system that's going to allow you to do what you want. Which to me, long-time AI fan. I got introduced to composable commerce through the work that we've done at EPAM. I think that those ideas together are very powerful.
And isn't flexibility a very key aspect of this? Because when we talk about composable, the very nature of this is, at the heart of it, is the flexibility. I can change things without having to spend a lot of time or effort to do that. How does that flexibility help with your AI experimentation as well?
So, to me, the name of the game in AI is speed.
Speed.
If you can learn faster, if you can act faster, if you can react faster than your competition, this is how you win. And one of the components of speed is not getting bogged down by systems that are difficult to integrate with. It's difficult to get data in and out. It's difficult to get knowledge, insights in and out. But there's also the whole realm of false starts of when you've invested so much into a system because it was cumbersome and difficult to be able to get, you're like, you know what, I'm going to push it. If it doesn't work, stop.
Well, the whole space is evolving so quickly. It's like you don't want to invest too much if you're going to end up tearing it down and rebuilding or going in a different direction, right? So that composable AI approach in making that work with commerce is really key.
It's kind of one of those things, like you don't have to get ready if you stay ready.
Okay, yes, that's true. Well, that's great. So the second topic I wanted to chat about today is this the proliferation of different shopping agents that are out there now. We're seeing everybody talk about shopping agents, both from the perspective of like conversational commerce, but there's this different take on how the shopping agents work, whether you're a large brand or a smaller brand. And it's almost like a little bit of an AI arms race when it comes to these shopping agents. Tell me a little bit about how you might be reacting to a shopping agent if you're a large brand versus a small brand here.
I think the first question that you have to ask yourself is, where are you positioned towards the agent that is of interest to you? Do you own the entire portfolio, or are you a participant in the game? So a lot of companies, especially smaller companies, will not necessarily have the ecosystem or the brand awareness or just the patience of their shoppers to have a dedicated bespoke. If you have just a handful of product, you really need a conversational agent. Maybe you need to have a different approach. There's a challenge for you, like it's kind of a SEO on steroids of how do you get in a sea of product that gets recommended, how do you make sure that you're positioned well, that you're described well?
It's disrupting the whole way shoppers find products these days, right? I mean, it used to be go to Google, do a search, click on an ad, and whatever ranks the highest, you kind of like, oh, that's where I'm going to go shop. But now that whole paradigm has changed.
The ergonomics are also different as people are getting a lot more fine, like they're a lot more refined into their inquiries. They will ask more probing questions. So then it becomes, are you competitive in that new market? Do you have the data estate? Because ultimately, the fuel of those agents is knowledge. How much do they know about their product? How much content is it out there? How well contextualized it is? Are you going to say the right thing? We've seen agents, especially in the early experimentation. We've done experimentation internally. We've seen some products in the market where you ask a question, it will actually recommend a product of your competition. That's because you don't control the entirety of the knowledge that is being fed into that agent, and that becomes a real danger.
So if I'm a large retailer and I've made this multi-year investment in commerce for a new platform, a new store, building this experience, I own my reviews, I own my data, like my product catalog, that kind of thing. Do I invest in building my own agent, or do I like try to co-opt these third-party agents that are out there?
I think there's value in trying to do your own. I think the ecosystem is very nascent. I think it's very interesting. You get to learn a lot. And it also gives you the unfair advantage that you own the learning. So all of the
you don't
queries.
Have to share it with your competitors.
Exactly. All of the queries. One of the unsung benefit that we saw from conversational agents is it allows you to poke holes in your own inventory. What are the questions that your consumer are asking that you don't have an answer for? How fast can you patch that answer? Is it through new content? Are you unaware that this is some of the things that
things you didn't know you were missing?
Micro trends, how quickly can you react onto this? By owning that estate and having that line of sight into your data landscape allows you to play a lot faster than if you either get something out of the box or trying to play into a bigger ecosystem where your incentive there are completely different.
Now let's flip that question on its head. So now instead of a large retailer, I'm a small retailer, right? I'm in marketplaces. I don't necessarily own my data. Like I mean, maybe I own my individual products, but I don't own this large data set. I don't have that luxury that a large retailer does. What's my strategy there? Do I go all in on these third-party agents and kind of hope to build my momentum, or do I take a different track?
You know what? That's a good question. I mean, if you're bold, I think it would be interesting to be able to go like with those micro agents, especially if you're governing a lot of public site. I know a lot of people are doing social commerce. If you're going into social media and you have a lot of brand equity, or your brand equity is building, I think it would be interesting to be able to go on display. I would love to see more of this happening. I think unfortunately, it's kind of also a reflection of like who owns the rest. If you do fulfillment through a third party, or you do commerce by a third party, then you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't play into that ecosystem. But the rules of the games are very different. You have to optimize different.
Is it the threat to both large and smaller retailers, though, that they start to lose their brand or lose ownership over their brand when the agents take control? Because like I said a moment ago, you're not searching anymore. It's not about SEO. It's not necessarily even about how great your website is. If you're using a third-party agent and you're putting your products out there, how do you don't lose sight of your brand? How do you keep that relationship with it?
So you're going to need to develop an entire new data product to be able to accommodate those agents. You're going to need to provide content. And again, I think it goes back to our earlier point. Speed is everything. This is a world that is in complete.
There's a loyalty aspect to this too, right? I mean, it's not just about having the greatest product at the greatest price. You have to create that relationship to make the shopping experience sticky, right?
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise I just might go out and talk to an agent and be like, tell me the cheapest place to buy a new phone. And it doesn't matter where I go.
But you didn't really get, especially if you're trying to differentiate, the value shoppers are still going to exist. I think you have to rethink a little bit the relationship you're going to have with different segments of your customer base. And you have to see, not everyone's going to adopt agent all at once. You have to experiment. You have to see where the balls are going to fall for your situation. And again, experiment, learn, be unapologetic about the results that you're getting, and iterate fast.
So at first it sounds like the speed and the ability to be flexible and to iterate fast are very appealing, especially in this space where you're going to face huge competition in this change, this very disruptive change in the market. But how do I avoid the pitfalls with privacy issues and compliance issues? And I think you mentioned a minute ago, maybe my LLM is going to recommend a competitor's product by accident. Like, how do I avoid these pitfalls?
So this is one of the things that I will say when generative AI became, I would say, public. You know, it was something that was on everyone's lips. We at EPAM have started very quickly looking at the responsible AI aspect of things. This is something we've done for a relatively long time, even before Gen AI was a thing with natural language processing, computer vision, and so on. But large language model gives a brand new vector of risk and pitfalls. So we have developed, offerings to be able to do either responsible design. So identifying you need to design your product with responsible.
So going back to the experimentation theme, it's not just about going crazy and you hit a roadblock and you have a privacy issue. You go, oh, sorry, you move on. I mean, you might get sued. So having a good partner like EPAM with a tool set and a framework to help you experiment responsibly and at the same time, quickly to your point, those kind of things are key.
And one of the things that we do, I would say probably my favorite thing is we have a very show don't tell approach. So we will we do have some suites and an offering that is going to show you, like, let's see the risk that your agent is going to face and let's see how it behaves and those kind of things. And I wouldn't go as far as calling it full red teaming, but we definitely go into the weeds of this. We have a couple of chatbots in production. It was humbling to see some of how creative people wanting to break those things. We have to design it in a way, you have to continue testing it in a way. I don't think it's very different than a lot of products that are in the market. I would say, even if you have how do you run your contact center? There is a risk of people saying the wrong thing. There is a risk that your agent's going to say the wrong thing. How are you mitigating this? And I think this is where a partner like us that allows you to go fast, but knowing that you're having your feet on the ground becomes really
hit the guardrails up so you don't go off the road, so to speak. Last question. We talked about large retailers and small retailers and kind of the conundrums and things that they have to go through. But at the end of the day, it's about you and me, the shopper. Right. So what's changing for them? Like if I'm on the consumer side of things and I want to go shop. I mean, for me, I want that agent to be as knowledgeable about me and my shopping experience as possible. So do I give in and go all in with a particular type of brand, or do I sort of play the field? What do you see the impacts being from a shopper's perspective, for a consumer's perspective?
I think for a shopper, we're always going to surf the line with it's exciting. There's a new modality to be able to learn and shop differently. There's obviously privacy concern. Which brand do you want to share your information with?
That's very important.
The relationship, I think, becomes more important.
Has to be trustworthy.
And to me, I'll talk for myself personally, but I see a lot of value in sharing my information in brands that are demonstrating that are going to use my data responsibly, that are offering that transparency. You go to a store and you're like, oh, do you have it in this color? It's like, no, we don't have it. But this is very interesting.
Yeah, nobody wants to disappoint the consumer, right?
Yeah. But how do you learn with this? And this is the type of information that generative AI allows you to process, make sense of, which I think creates a virtuous circle. I think more than ever, customers don't want to have the impression that they've been tricked. So I think it puts pressure on retailers and brands and companies that are interfacing with the public in general to not try to pull a fast one on them.
You have to be responsible and respectable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have a question that I want to ask you.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's, it's 2025.
Yes.
Like, we're in March. Agents have been there for a couple of months. I think that right now, everyone is kind of on a holding pattern of like, what's going to be the big breakthrough. There's a lot of effervescence, a lot of experimentation. If you were to put yourself in like a year from now, like, what do you find most exciting about how AI can intersect with commerce from your point of view?
So let me see if I can give two answers to that. I think that the commerce market so far has become very mature, and people aren't really able to compete as much anymore on having the best looking website or the best type of promotions or the best prices. That's all history. And I think that if you're a retailer, having a shopping agent that can create that relationship with the customer will be the new driver for revenue going forward. So it's essential, I think, for retailers to find a way to adopt that to drive their next generation of commerce, and having the right platforms and having the right composable architecture to enable that are going to be key things. But you flip that around, and from a consumer perspective, like if I could wave a magic wand and say, what does Brian want? I don't know that I want the retailer's agent or even a third-party agent. I almost want to be able to create an agent for myself, right? The tool sets are becoming so prevalent and so almost self-service that I want that Jarvis, like from the Avengers, right? That knows me, not just my shopping, but like, knows my home decoration habits, knows my favorite games, because creating that body of knowledge about Brian and what Brian likes to do sometimes can be transactional where I buy something, but at the same time, it could be like recommending a trip for me or recommending non-transactional things for me to enrich my life. So having an agent maybe that I create that knows the totality of me is what I would like to see in the market going forward.
Your bank account balance.
Yes. Well, I know it has to be trustworthy. Like if I share that, but it's, I mean, traditionally finance and banking haven't been very commerce-y, if that's a word. And so, maybe that's part of the new wave with AI, is that we can now bring in those other industry segments into more of a transactional manner for us.